So, of course, I only mentioned the successful cases, but I have also made a bankruptcy. So, I was involved in one biotech company called First, and that went bankrupt. I'm really sad about that, because I really liked that company. I was hoping that that company would succeed, but unfortunately, even though I personally felt that it was the best business idea of all, that company went bankrupt, and I could not prevent it.
지금까지 성공했던 이야기만 했는데요. 사실 제가 경영한 회사 중에서는 파산한 회사도 있었습니다. 바이오텍 회사였는데요. 사실 제가 가장 좋아했던 회사 중에 하나라서 굉장히 슬픕니다.
So I wanted to share this with you so that you know that to succeed you also have to fail, sometimes fail many times. So it's not so easy. It looks nice on paper, but reality is always tough, very tough.
이렇게 훌륭한 레즈메는 사실 뒤에 여러 성공 뒤에 많은 실패 경험이 있기 때문에 탄생하는 것이라고 생각합니다.
But you know, I started my career as a big companies like Accenture, McKinsey, so it was the corporate career. But today, when I'm 45, I'm really happy that I'm an entrepreneur. It's been a really exciting career for me, and I also hope that you will have a very exciting career as entrepreneurs. You just have to remember not to give up.
저의 커리어는 사실 대기업, 액센처 같은 대기업에서 시작을 했지만 저는 지금 45세가 된 현재 창업가이며 모험적인 일을 하고 있다는 걸 자부심을 느낍니다. 여러분도 이와 같은 자부심을 느끼고 있으리라고 믿습니다.
Alright, let's talk about today's agenda. So, I don't know if it's going to take the full time, but this is roughly an outline, and we'll see how it goes. This is the first time we're doing it actually. So the first part, we'll talk about structured problem solving. It's actually very simple stuff. But the idea is really to be very structured about how you think about the problem and what is your problem. Often when you are taught how to do pitch or how to do a strategy, they tell you to put all kinds of things in there. Very rarely does the management team actually think step by step what are the real problems and what are the most important problems. So that's what we're going to talk about first, the theory of structured problem solving.
시간표를 보시면 첫 번째 시간에는 전략적 문제 해결의 이론을 한번 살펴볼 것인데요. 여러분이 피칭할 때는 무엇을 그리고 어떻게 사업을 전개할 것이냐에 대한 내용이 중요합니다. 이렇기 때문에 무엇이 중요한가, 어떤 것에 더 중점을 두어야 하는가에 대해서 강연을 하도록 하겠습니다.
Of course, it's fun to listen to somebody else talk here, and maybe it's easy to watch some slides and you can do your little computer thing at the same time or check your email. But unfortunately, you will not learn anything from that. So, to make sure that you actually learn, we have a case. And Nam will tell you about a fictitious company called APCO. But it's fairly close to reality, and in fact, you should pretend that you are the CEO of APCO. This is the task for you. And then we will have two breakouts. If you are the CEO of APCO, and you have a management team to do, you have to be the boss, and you have to tell them a little bit, plan the thing. So that's the breakout number one.
여러분은 마음 편하게 강연만 듣는 거를 좋아할 수도 있겠는데요. 사실 강연만 들으면은 배우는 효과가 떨어지기 마련입니다. 따라서 저희는 이번 후반부에는 케이스별로 이제 모듈별로 작업을 하는 그런 시간을 준비했습니다. 이 케이스에서는 에코라는 회사의 CEO가 되어보아서 상황이 2달 후에 투자가를 만나기로 하는 상황인데요. 이런 경우에 경영 기획을 발표를 해야 되는데 어떤 순서로 그리고 누가 이런 거를 준비를 해야 할까, 그리고 워크 플랜은 어떤가, 팀에게 여러분은 어떤 메시지를 전달해야 될까, 이러한 것에 대해서 공부를 해보겠습니다.
At the end of that section, a couple of teams will present, and we will also show a textbook answer. There is no right or wrong answer, so I think you can learn from each other as well as from the textbook answer. So after this part, I hope you have learned something about the job of being CEO. Second part is actually developing the first cut strategy. Usually when you start working on strategy with your management team, you want to have a kick-off meeting. And in that kick-off meeting, you want to present some first ideas. So in the second breakout, you're going to develop that. And I'm going to show you which elements you need to have in place for the strategy. So that's going to be your job to do a first draft of strategy. After this session, again, we'll have some group presentation and textbook answer. What I hope that you have learned from this section is how to develop a story and a strategy for any company, maybe even your own company. And I really hope that at the end of this session, you have lots of new ideas how to look at your business as a business and how to present that business to some grown-up, serious investors or other business people. So this may be a little bit of a difficult session today, but bear with me. I'm sure at the end of the session you will feel relieved and feel that you have learned something.
첫 번째 세션이 워크아웃 세션이 끝난 다음엔 두 팀 정도 발표를 하겠고요. 그 다음에 예시 답안을 보여드릴 것입니다. 사실 예시 답안에 얽매일 필요는 없고요. 여러분 서로에게 발표를 하면서 배우는 점이 더 많으리라고 생각합니다. 이번 세션을 통해서 여러분은 훌륭한 CEO가 되는 방법을 배울 건데요. 그 다음에 두 번째 워크숍 세션에서는 이번에 비즈니스를 킥오프하는 그런 미팅에서 여러분이 아이디어 발표를 어떻게 할 것인가, 그리고 여러분의 전략에 어떤 요소가 포함되어야 하는가에 대해서 다루도록 하겠습니다. 이번 세션이 끝난 다음에 여러분은 어떠한 기업을 갖고 있든 스토리와 전략을 타인에게 설명하는 데 큰 어려움이 없으리라고 생각합니다.
So I will do this part, Young-Nam will do this part, and then we will help you with these parts here. So Young-Nam and Yon will help you also. And also if you have questions about your own company or whatever, let's talk about that in the end. Purpose is that everybody learns something from this, and that your companies will be better after this session.
첫 번째 시간은 저에 의해서 진행이 되겠고요. 워크아웃 시간에는 여러분이 직접 일을 하시겠지만 저와 그리고 영남 씨께서 도와드릴 것입니다. 중간에 여러분 기업에 대한 이야기도 해주시면 좋은 인풋이 될 것 같습니다.
Alright, what we're going to be talking about is hypothesis-driven problem solving. If you ask a question, or if you have questions, and you start doing research, sometimes what happens is you end up in a situation called analysis paralysis. You are collecting data and data and data, and the more data you collect, the less you understand the question. So you get confused in the end. At the end of the couple of weeks, you have a huge piles of data on your desk, but you have no idea what the answer is. So this approach, hypothesis-driven problem solving, is different. In this approach, you first structure the questions, then you make your guess answer, and then you try to verify whether this guess is true or not. So you will make some statements, and then you'll try to find facts that support or disprove that statement. So it's called hypothesis-driven problem solving because you are going to drive it through hypotheses, not only questions.
이번 시간에는 가설 설정을 통한 문제 해결을 해볼 텐데요. 여러분이 문제를 해결하시다가 보면은 데이터만 많이 축적해놓고서는 사실 답을 못 찾는 경우가 있습니다. 그렇기 때문에 이번에는 의문, 퀘션을 구성화하고 그 다음에 가설을 설정한 다음에 데이터를 통해서 이를 가설을 확인해보는 작업을 해보겠습니다.
Okay, let me ask you guys a question. So I already showed you one slide and you can maybe check it out on your computer as well. But what is strategy to you? If I ask you, tell me about your company's strategy, what will you tell me? What are the key elements of strategy in your opinion? I will.
What kind of values?
Yeah, I mean strategy development definitely is a process, and the way we like to define strategy is actually a very simple way, and I think both of you are right. I like to have a very simple definition because as the CEO, my most important task is to get my employees to work with me. How do you get your people to work with you? You have to have a great story. The story has to be logical so they believe you, and it has to be interesting somehow. In the story, you probably have some kind of vision or goal, and then you have some steps how to achieve those elements. Maybe there are different phases, and you have some specific actions. So I will show you this. But the most important thing is it has to be a good story. In fact, when you pitch to investors, this is what you pitch, the story. But the story must be logical, and it must be fact-based. Because if there are no facts supporting your story, the investor will only say, oh, you're just dreaming. You are not actually presenting me a business, you're only presenting me a dream. I'm not going to finance a dream. Now, to make sure that your story actually makes money, because we are here to make business, unfortunately, it would be great to just do apps. I mean, that would be fantastic. But unfortunately, nobody pays us just for apps. So we have to do a business. So the story has to follow something called a ladder. We call this kind of chart a ladder. Reddal actually backwards is ladder, if you read it backwards. This means these are numbers. If this, for example, is your revenue today, maybe it's 0, and maybe you have some plan for revenue in 5 years. These are the steps, how your revenue will grow. Maybe after that you say, okay, I have these steps, And then I maybe will do 3 more steps, and then my revenue will grow here. So this kind of waterfall or ladder chart you can do for revenue, profitability, or capital. It can be very useful. But having this and this, now you have a story which is logical and fact-based, and you have some numbers that every step is supported by some numbers, some facts. I feel sorry for your own business.
네, 두 분 다 맞는 말씀을 하셨고요. 제가 간단하게 이에 대한 저의 답을 한번 제시해 보겠습니다. 제가 생각하기로는 전략이라는 것은 저희 팀에게 모두에게 동기부여를 하는 것이라고 생각합니다. 동기부여를 하려면은 여러분 비즈니스에 대한 좋은 스토리가 필요하겠죠. 좋은 스토리는 흥미로운 스토리입니다. 이는 비전을 갖고 있고 골 또한 제시하며 그리고 각 골을 달성하는 방법 그리고 액션 등을 포함하고 있죠. 이러한 스토리는 피칭할 때도 매우 중요한데요. 이러한 스토리가 팩트, 사실에 의거해야지만 투자자분들께서 설득을 당하시기 때문입니다. 오늘 이 시간에 여러분의 앱뿐만 아니라 비즈니스 전체에 대한 시각을 키울 텐데요. 비즈니스를 성장시키기 위해서는 앞에서 보시는 것과 같이 레더, 사다리라는 그런 템플릿을 사용하실 겁니다. 레더는 사실 레더의 반대로 읽으면 레더가 되죠. 그런 숨은 뜻이 있고요. 보시면은 매출, 지금 현재 매출, 5년 후의 매출, 그리고 그 이후의 매출까지도 이렇게 전망을 해보는 그런 템플릿입니다. 이런 템플릿은 매출뿐만 아니라 수익, 그리고 자본 등에도 사용할 수 있는 그런 유용한 도구입니다.
So you have a great story, you have the facts, and you have the business model, the numbers behind it. But that's not enough, because then the investor and your employees too, they want to know how. What should I do tomorrow? What do I do next month? What do I do next year? How do I achieve this big goal? For Reddal, our big goal is to be number 1 in our business. We want to beat McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, Bain, Booz. This is a very big ambition. How can I ever convince my employees that this is possible? Well, for that, I need a roadmap, some kind of stage-wise approach. When I started this company, nobody believed I could beat McKinsey. Today, a few people believe, and maybe tomorrow or next year, more people will believe. Because I have taken the first step. Now I'm going for the second step, and then the third step. And in each step, I have some things I have to achieve, and some numbers I have to reach. And before those steps are done, I cannot move to the second stage, then to the third. In fact, one of our clients, in their annual report, they wrote their plan like this, so anybody could read. And then the management, every year they report how they made progress in this. If you can show such track record, you are very credible. The investor has no choice but to believe you, because you are making progress.
말씀드렸다시피 비즈니스 전략이라는 것은